I'm Kim Castro, your painting instructor. Today we're excited to start another brand new painting. So let's get started. Get your brushes out, your paint, your easel, and this is the one we're going to do today. So let's sit down, relax, and have fun doing it. Hello everyone, hope you can see me here. I'm Kim Castro Art. What we're going to do is a portrait in acrylic. And right now I'm going to show you the prep for what I'm going to do. And we may end up going into oil when we're done with the acrylic part. But we'll see how it goes. The first thing I'm going to let you know is it's an 11 by 14 canvas. And I've already primed it with gesso. And so I let it dry for a couple of days. So you may want to go ahead and do a couple of coats. You can do 2 coats in one day. You want that to be as smooth as you can get it, pretty much. And then I printed out a picture of, we'll call it a princess, right there. And she likes to refer to her as a princess. It's my granddaughter, but shh, don't tell anyone. So what I've done here is we've got a standard sheet of paper and carbon paper. And what we're going to do is, as you can see, I taped down the 4 corners. We're just going to use a standard old pencil, and we're going to transfer the important parts onto the canvas. Now you want to press pretty firmly. You don't have to have every single detail, but you want to get as much as you possibly can, including any of the dark spots. You want to know where the dark spots are going to be. Anything you need to take note of when you want to do the painting. So right now I'm going to start out here in the hair. And if you make some other little lines, that's fine. You'll be able to tell as you go here. Now as you see, this picture is kind of cut off right here, so I'm going to make up the difference by just continuing on right off the canvas. And I'm going to just get an idea of where her shoulders would be, and that's what I would do. And so then I will just go ahead and continue with the hair. And I'm looking at the actual picture itself too, because there's certain areas in the hair that are darker and lighter, and different strands are there. So I'm just kind of making note of where those strands are. Just a rough idea. It doesn't have to be perfect, just to give you an idea. And that's going to help you a lot later on. Now as you can see up on the top here, right here, you can see there's a lot of dark areas up here. You want to make sure that you highlight that with your pencil. Make sure you know it's there, because that's one of the first things we're going to do, is we'll be putting the dark areas in. Now I'm following around the inside of her face. You can see the dark spot right there. You can see it just barely. What I did was I took a color picture right there and I transferred it to grayscale. That's how I did this. And I'm just making notes by just making lines of where those spots are, all the dark areas. So I can come back later and it'll make it a lot easier for me to know exactly where they are. It'll help a lot with the painting, of which you'll see that later on. And you'll see the strands of hair. You can see right through these hair right here. So you're not going to be painting pure hair, because there's going to be areas where you'll see the sweater or the shirt. In fact, if you don't like the color of that, you can change it. You can just change the color of the shirt. I've done that other times when I didn't like the color, or if there was like way too much detail on it, you know, a million little flowers or something, you don't want to paint them all, because it just makes a lot more time into the portrait. You can just change the color. Now I'm making sure that I get this whole outer edge before I go too far, because that's really important for me to make sure of that. Some of it I kind of have to guess a little bit of it And once I got that in, I can look at some of the other darker areas. And I'm actually just going to draw right around the dark areas a little bit so that I'll know where they are. So it's really important to get them dark areas. Even in the hair here, you'll see quite a few dark areas. Just make note of some of those. Down under the neck here, it's very obvious where the neck is going to be. It's a little bit harder to see it right here, but it's pretty obvious where them darker lines are going to be in the shadows. So you can just make, approximate marks about where they're going to be. That'll help you later on. And the more of these you do, the more you'll catch on to that. Now the shirt here is a little bit fuzzy in that area, but I'm just going to make a guess about where it is. And we can straighten that out as we go along with the painting. And this is all dark over here, and it comes out a little bit right there, and it's a bit darker up in this area. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to follow every little single line right there, but just roughly where them dark areas are going to be. You can even scribble it in a little bit, so it'll remind you what's there. And so we'll make sure we got the hair there, some dark areas in the hair here. And you've already got the outside. We got some dark areas, especially up in here, which these are going to be pretty important too. So we want to make sure we get marks up here so we know that it's a bit darker. It's not black or nothing like that, but it is a darker brown. But it's funny how some of the cameras can kind of lie to you. It'll actually show sometimes more dark than there really is. But that's just the way it works. Okay, next, make sure we got all them areas. Those look pretty good. I see kind of quite a transition right here where it's actually quite a bit darker in that area right there. So I'm going to kind of just bring a line down, I think, just to remind me that the back of that hair is without a doubt a bit darker in that area. And you can see it's pretty obvious in the drawing here. Now the neckline, luckily we got that right here in the picture, so we can we'll make up some shadows as we go, basically. Now we want to do the eyebrows, and they're a little bit hard to get them, but just follow them dark lines mainly. And even there's actually shadowy areas of that eyebrow that I can see. It's not going to be as dark. You can see that right in the picture, where it's darker here than over here. There really is quite a difference. And you'll have to adjust as you paint on some of that stuff. So this right here actually shows a pretty good upgrade right there a little bit, and it slopes back down. And that'll most likely be an adjustment area right there when it comes to it. Don't forget the lines that are around the top of the eye, a little bit of a indentation right in there, and under the eye. Those are very important. And now you can see my princess here, she added a bunch of eyeshadow, so her eyes are quite a bit darker around the eyes. Probably be one of the first ones I ever painted like that, but we'll consider that a challenge. Make sure you get the eyeball. Now remember, the human eyeball is actually round. If you made that round circle, of course the eyelids all cover the top and the bottom of it. It would actually be a round ball. And then remember, you got a lot of shadowing in the eye. There's a lot of darker areas in there. And you gotta make sure you get those too. Then we'll come over to this eye, and we'll do the same thing. This looks like it's a bit bumpy because of the picture, but we'll have to do some more adjusting as we go. It does help a lot if you know who the subject is. And since I know the princess here, that does help a lot. I get to worship her whenever I want to. Okay, now we know this is going to be all dark. And we got this line up here. And as you can see, I can't quite see the whole thing in the picture, but when I look at the picture itself, I can see it, but not down here. So I had to make an adjustment for that. The noses are really they're probably the most difficult things that I have to do. But I'm just going to make a bit of a sketch of what I see. And you want to make sure that any of them lines that you see in the nose, you put in there. Especially the darker areas. Some of them areas I'm drawing in here probably won't be there. They'll be more of a skin tone, but I still want to put them there anyway. In this picture, I don't know if we're mainly looking at this picture here as a lesson. Maybe it may not be perfect, but we're going to be trying to learn how to get started doing a portrait. I'm not per se a portrait artist, really. I'm fairly new to it, like some people are, a lot of people are. But I'll do my best to show you the way I start. There's a little dimple over here. We want to make sure we mark that. The lips, you can see there's the shadows on the outside. Mainly get the outside of these lips especially. You can make adjustments as you go in the painting. But you got some dark areas, you want to make sure you get those in there. And you want to make sure the lip center line is in place also. And you can see the expression of the lips and the eyes and everything. That all makes the person. That's what's so important in a painting. All these little tiny little details make a lot of difference, and that's what you want to pay attention to. So I got a shadow right here. I want to make sure I got this one in this ear. There's a shadow there. That's going to be important, and it comes around over here, kind of over this way, up in here, about like so. And over here there's no ear to see, so we're covered there. And you can actually see a little bit of hair, barely, right in this area right here. Just a tiny little bit, but it's very, very vague. Because the hair really does come down, actually, in this shadow right here. You can see where the shadow gets lighter. There's a lot lighter area. And then you got some darker areas. And then it's dark here, gets lighter. And then things get dark again over here. Just like that. It's all dark here. And dark here. We'll just color it in a little bit so we can remember where they are. And if you want to put a few more lines in for the hair, if you can see some, put them in. You're probably going to go right over the top of them, but it helps you get a better visualization. You can visualize everything a lot better with a little bit of hair there. And it gives you an idea of the hair, the texture, where it forms, how the directions go. Like the tops, you can see it kind of comes up from here. Very important. You want to make sure that's going to be part of her character. And you don't want to make a princess mad, so you better get it right. So I'm going to add a few extra lines right in here just to give me a little more of an idea about where the hair is. That'll keep me away from the face a bit. And then I'm going to come down past this. And I'm probably just going to stop it in this area here, because it's just hard to tell how long her hair is. So I haven't really seen her that much lately, so hopefully we'll have it somewhere in the right area. And over here, the same thing. Comes down over here, right onto the very top of her sweater, or the shirt, whatever it is. We'll figure out what it is when we do it. Okay, you do have some more shadows over here. We got those outlined already. I'm just going to scribble a little bit there so I can see a little bit of the shadows there. A little bit of shadow here. Maybe some in here. We know we got the dimple here, so it's definitely going to be some shadow there. Up under the eye up here, you can see a little bit of shadow up here. That's from that makeup she's wearing. A little bit up here. Just roughly about where it is. Okay, I think we've got it. Now, the defining moment. I tape this up, so we'll just pop the tape off a little carefully. And we'll save the carbon, and there we are. So, the only thing else I want to do is I want to make note of the irises in her eyes. I probably should have drawn them then, but I'll do it now. So, they kind of tend to come up to the top a bit more up here, and it really wouldn't matter a whole lot, because when I painted it, I would probably do some readjustment anyway. But those are also round, and they probably come up to the top. And the same thing over here. You want to try to get them to make sure they're about the same size. That's going to be important also. And that's something you can adjust very easily as you go. And you'll also note that in her eyes, where there's a light, there's always going to be a white light there somewhere. This one has one about here, and the other one's going to be about in the exact same spot. That'll give you the illusion that the person's looking at you. And as you can see, she is looking at me, telling me that if I don't do this good, there's going to be a price to pay. We got a light spot up here on the top of her nose, and skin does reflect. That's usually kind of a V right here, somewhere like that, and that's how that usually will end up being. So, we're done with that part. And the only thing I see I missed here was the rest of her chin. Luckily, we got this part here, and we can just connect it. And you can use your pencil to do the same thing. Just kind of look around, see anything you missed, add to it. I'm adding the shoulders a little bit here. I think I like the shoulder up a little bit more here, even though the picture's not showing it that way. Erase anything that you don't see that you want. Make notes of where the light spots are going to be, and those are your critical parts that you need to know. Maybe add some hairlines here so it doesn't look so weird, because I had to go over the other paper like so. And there we go. Alright, that will stop that part, and we'll continue with this shortly, which will be actually instantly for you.